Subscribe to Hollow Whisper Tales and unlock the secrets of the night. When the sun sets on Blackwood Manor, the past awakens. Tonight, we dive into a tale of terror, where truth is darker than fiction. Volume number 3, Whispers of the Forgotten House. In the quiet town of Mill Creek, where the landscape was adorned with whispering pines and rolling hills, an air of mystery clung to the streets. Nestled at the end of a winding dirt road stood an old house that had captured the imaginations of its residents for generations. With its sagging roof, cracked windows, and overgrown gardens, the Hawthorne House was a ghostly specter, shrouded in folklore and tragedy. As twilight cast long shadows across its weathered facade, townsfolk often found themselves exchanging hushed whispers about the legends that surrounded this once grand estate. The house had a history steeped in sorrow, beginning with its construction in the late 1800s by the enigmatic Hawthorne family. Known for their wealth and reclusiveness, the Hawthornes became an integral part of the town's lore. They shunned social gatherings and often remained hidden behind the thick, ivy-covered walls of their home. Over the years, rumors began to circulate, tales of strange rituals and inexplicable events that filled the town with trepidation. It wasn't long before the house was branded a cursed dwelling, a place where shadows moved with a life of their own and eerie cries echoed through the night. The tragic disappearance of Clara Hawthorne, the youngest daughter, marked a turning point in the house's history. One fateful day, she vanished without a trace, leaving the family devastated and the townspeople anxious. Search parties scoured the nearby woods, but Clara was never found, and her absence cast a pall over the family that would never lift. Whispers of a family curse grew louder, fueled by the series of misfortunes that befell the Hawthornes in the years that followed. Illnesses struck the family one by one, leading to tragic accidents that seemed almost supernatural in their frequency. As the years passed, the house stood vacant, becoming a shadowy reminder of the pain it harbored. Children dared each other to approach its rusted gate, their hearts pounding with fear and excitement. Adults, however, spoke of the house with reverence, warning their children to stay away from its darkened windows and creaking doors. It was said that if one listened closely, they could hear the soft whispers of the forgotten past, calling out to the living. Yet, for all its horror, the house remained an object of fascination. In an age when ghost stories and urban legends thrived, the Hawthorne House became a local legend, a haunting backdrop for tales of the supernatural. It drew the curiosity of outsiders, those eager to uncover its secrets and confront the darkness that lingered within. Little did they know that the house held its own history, a tangled web of grief, sorrow, and unresolved pain that would soon entwine with their own lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet, a new chapter was about to unfold within the walls of the Hawthorne House. The whispers of the past would soon collide with the lives of those brave enough to uncover the truth hidden within its haunted halls, setting the stage for a chilling tale that would echo through the ages. The house's history. The Hawthorne House, a grand Victorian structure, rose like a ghost from the surrounding landscape, its once vibrant facade now faded and peeling. Built in the late 1800s, it was an architectural marvel of its time, boasting intricate woodwork, expansive porches, and towering gables that pierced the sky. The house was set on a sprawling estate, bordered by ancient trees and wildflowers that had long since been choked by neglect. However, it was not just the house's exterior that captured the imagination of the townsfolk. It was the dark history woven into its very foundations that transformed it into a haunting legend. The house was commissioned by Jonathan Hawthorne, a wealthy industrialist who made his fortune in textiles. He and his wife, Eliza, envisioned a home filled with warmth and laughter, a sanctuary for their growing family. The couple welcomed 3 children into the world: Clara, the youngest and most spirited. William, the eldest, who was burdened by the weight of expectation, and Edith, the middle child, often lost in the shadows of her siblings. The Hawthorne family was initially viewed with admiration, their wealth and success celebrated by the townspeople. Yet, as the years passed, that admiration morphed into suspicion. The turning point came with Clara's disappearance. One fateful summer evening, the family hosted a gathering for friends and neighbors, a rare occasion that saw laughter and joy fill the halls of the old house. As night fell, Clara, who was known for her adventurous spirit, slipped away to explore the woods surrounding the property. Hours passed, and panic began to rise among the partygoers. Search parties were quickly assembled, but despite their efforts, Clara vanished without a trace. Days turned into weeks, and the small town was gripped with sorrow and unease. The disappearance shattered the Hawthorne family, fracturing the bond between them and casting a dark shadow over their lives. In the wake of Clara's loss, strange happenings began to plague the Hawthorne household. The remaining family members were haunted by inexplicable events that further fueled the town's fears. William became increasingly withdrawn, haunted by guilt over his inability to protect his sister. He spent long hours in the attic, poring over old family journals and letters, searching for answers that would never come. Edith, meanwhile, found solace in the garden, speaking to the flowers as if they were her lost sister, attempting to hold onto the fading memories of happier times. Jonathan and Eliza, once a vibrant couple, found themselves consumed by grief. They became reclusive, refusing to participate in town events and shutting themselves away in the house that now felt more like a prison. Whispers of a curse began to circulate among the townsfolk, who speculated that the family had angered vengeful spirits or incurred the wrath of a dark force. The tales grew more elaborate over time, painting the Hawthornes as tragic figures doomed to suffer for their sins. The tragedy of Clara's disappearance was only the beginning of the Hawthorne family's torment. Over the next few years, a series of accidents and illnesses befell them. Jonathan succumbed to a mysterious illness that left him bedridden, while Eliza's health deteriorated rapidly, her spirit crushed by the weight of grief. Neighbors began to notice strange occurrences, lights flickering in the windows at odd hours, shadows flitting across the lawn when no one was home, and eerie sounds emanating from the house, as if the walls themselves were alive with sorrow. William and Edith tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but the darkness that enveloped their home proved insurmountable. William became obsessed with the idea of finding Clara, convinced that she was still alive somewhere, trapped between worlds. He would often spend nights wandering the woods, searching for any sign of his sister. Edith, on the other hand, retreated further into her own world, talking to the spirits she believed inhabited the garden, convinced that they held the key to Clara's fate. As years passed, the Hawthorne house began to deteriorate, mirroring the decline of its inhabitants. The once grand estate became overgrown, the garden wild and untamed, while the interior fell into disrepair. The townsfolk, who once admired the house, now avoided it, creating a distance that allowed the legends to flourish. Stories of ghosts and hauntings became common, and children dared each other to approach the crumbling structure, whispering tales of Clara's spirit lingering within its walls. When William finally vanished one stormy night, the townspeople were not surprised. They had come to expect such tragedies from the Hawthorne family. Edith was the last surviving member, left alone in a house filled with echoes of the past. She spent her days wandering through the dusty rooms, talking to the memories that filled the air, believing that Clara and William were still with her in some form. The house, once a symbol of wealth and happiness, had transformed into a mausoleum of sorrow, a testament to the dark history that had unfolded within its walls. After Edith's passing, the house stood empty, a monument to the family's misfortunes. Time marched on, and Mill Creek slowly forgot the Hawthorne family and their tragic legacy. The house, however, remained a ghostly relic of the past, steeped in legends that would linger for generations. It became a place of fascination, drawing the curious and the brave, those eager to uncover the secrets hidden within its haunted halls. As the years rolled by, the stories surrounding the Hawthorne house continued to evolve. Some claimed that the spirits of Clara, William, and even their parents roamed the halls, trapped in a cycle of grief and despair. Others whispered of the house itself being cursed, as if it fed on the sorrow of its inhabitants, ensuring that no one would escape its grasp unscathed. In this way, the Hawthorne house became more than just a structure. It was a vessel of memory, a place where the past was never truly buried, and where the echoes of a family's tragedy continued to resonate in the hearts and minds of those who dared to remember. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows stretched across the town, the whispers of the forgotten house began to stir once more, calling out to those brave enough to confront the darkness that lay within. The legend of the house. As the years turned into decades, the Hawthorne house became synonymous with the eerie tales that echoed throughout Mill Creek. It was not just a building. It had morphed into a legend, an embodiment of the fears and superstitions that lingered in the hearts of the townsfolk. The mere mention of the house would send shivers down spines, its name spoken in hushed whispers, often accompanied by knowing glances. Children dared each other to approach its decaying facade, while adults warned of the curses that seemed to hang heavy in the air surrounding the property. The most infamous of these legends revolved around the disappearance of Clara Hawthorne, the youngest daughter of the ill-fated family. Many believed that Clara's spirit roamed the house, forever searching for her lost family and seeking closure for the tragedy that had befallen her. Tales of her ghostly figure were common. It was said that on stormy nights, her cries could be heard, echoing through the trees and calling out for help. Those brave enough to venture near the house reported seeing a flickering light in the attic window, which locals claimed was Clara's restless spirit, forever trapped within the walls of her childhood home. As the story spread, so did the peculiar events associated with the house. Some claimed to have seen a shadowy figure standing on the porch, watching intently as they passed by. Others described fleeting glimpses of a girl in a white dress darting through the overgrown garden, only to vanish into thin air. These accounts fueled the local lore, and soon, the house became a focal point for ghost hunters and thrill seekers drawn by the promise of a real-life haunting. An elderly woman named Mrs. Whitaker, the town historian, often recounted the tales of the Hawthorne family to curious visitors. With her gray hair and twinkling eyes, she possessed an encyclopedic knowledge of the town's history. She would sit on her porch, sipping sweet tea, and recount the stories she had heard as a child. Her favorite was the tale of Clara's last birthday, when the young girl had supposedly made a wish to be free from the confines of the house. STH supposedly made a wish to be free from the confines of the house. As the story went, Clara had asked for adventure and exploration, only to be met with a fate that would keep her trapped forever. Mrs. Whitaker recalled how the townsfolk believed that Clara's spirit lingered in the house, bound by her unfulfilled desires. According to legend, anyone who entered the house could feel her sorrow, an overwhelming sense of longing that hung in the air. The locals claimed that those who were sensitive to the supernatural could hear her soft whispers, urging them to help her find peace. The house also had its share of darker legends. It was said that the Hawthorne family had engaged in occult practices, desperate to communicate with Clara's spirit after her disappearance. Some claimed to have seen strange symbols etched into the walls of the attic, remnants of rituals conducted in an attempt to bring her back. The townsfolk warned of the dangers of tampering with the unknown, believing that the family's actions had awakened something sinister within the house, a malevolent force that thrived on grief and despair. As the story evolved, so did the house's reputation. It became a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seemed thin, a realm where spirits could walk freely. The townspeople told tales of brave souls who had entered the house, seeking answers or merely a thrill. Some reported chilling encounters, objects moving on their own, cold drafts that chilled the air, and disembodied voices whispering secrets in the dark. Others spoke of feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness wash over them as they wandered the halls, as if the weight of the family's sorrow clung to the very walls. The legend of the Hawthorne House drew the attention of paranormal enthusiasts and ghost hunters from far and wide. They arrived armed with cameras, EVP recorders, and an insatiable curiosity, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. Their stories only added to the house's allure, with online forums buzzing with discussions of potential hauntings and sightings. Yet, many of these seekers returned with tales of fear and unease, sharing stories of inexplicable occurrences that had driven them to flee the house in terror. One such encounter was recounted by a group of college students who had decided to spend a night in the Hawthorne House for a school project on local folklore. They arrived with excitement, eager to document their experience. As the night wore on, they began to feel a sense of unease. Whispers echoed through the empty halls, and shadowy figures danced just beyond their line of sight. One of the students, Sarah, claimed she saw a girl in a white dress standing at the end of the hallway, her expression one of despair. When she blinked, the girl had vanished, leaving Sarah shaken and convinced that they were not alone. Another popular tale was of a local skeptic named Mark, who dismissed the legends as mere superstition. Determined to debunk the myths, he entered the house armed only with his camera and a flashlight. As he explored the darkened rooms, he felt a growing sense of dread. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the attic, causing Mark to freeze in fear. He recounted feeling a cold breath on his neck and hearing a whisper urging him to leave. Mark fled the house, swearing that he would never return, forever changed by his experience. As the legend grew, so did the house's presence in the town's cultural fabric. Festivals were held in its honor, ghost tours organized to explore its haunted halls, and local artists created works inspired by its dark beauty. Yet, amidst the thrill and excitement, the essence of the legend remained, a poignant reminder of the Hawthorne family's tragedy and the spirits that lingered, yearning for resolution. The Hawthorne House stood as a haunting testament to the intertwining of past and present, a place where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred. The legend surrounding the house served as a warning, a reminder that some mysteries were best left undisturbed, and that the echoes of the past could still resonate within the living. In the quiet town of Mill Creek, the Hawthorne House continued to captivate the imagination, its secrets waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to step into its shadowy embrace. New residents. After decades of decay, the Hawthorne House caught the attention of an unsuspecting couple looking for a fresh start. Emma and Jake Thompson, both in their early 30s, had recently moved to Mill Creek from a bustling city in search of a quieter life. They were drawn to the town's charm and affordability, but it was the allure of the Hawthorne House that truly captivated them. Despite the whispers of ghostly tales and haunted legends, Emma saw potential in the house, a chance to restore a piece of history and make it their own. The couple arrived at the house on a crisp autumn day, their car packed with boxes and hopes for their new beginning. As they approached the property, the house loomed in front of them, its once elegant architecture now draped in vines and obscured by overgrown shrubs. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine, not from fear, but from excitement. She could envision the restoration work they would undertake, bringing the old Victorian back to life with vibrant colors and modern comforts. Jake, more practical than romantic, was less enthralled by the house's history. He had heard the local legends from neighbors during their house hunting journey, but he brushed them off as mere stories meant to entertain. "It's just an old house, Sam," he reassured her, his voice steady. "We'll make it our home, and all those tales will fade into the background." As they settled in, the Thompsons began to discover the quirks of the Hawthorne house. The creaking floorboards echoed with every step, and the drafty rooms whispered secrets as the wind howled through the cracks. The couple found remnants of the past hidden within the walls: faded wallpaper, tarnished silverware, and even a collection of old family photographs tucked away in a dusty attic corner. Each discovery added to the house's charm, and Emma felt a connection to the family who once called it home. However, as the days turned into weeks, strange occurrences began to disrupt their newfound serenity. It started with small things: lights flickering unexpectedly, doors creaking open on their own, and the distinct feeling of being watched. Emma dismissed these as mere quirks of an old house, while Jake attributed them to drafts and aging wood. Yet, the uneasy feeling lingered, particularly at night when shadows danced on the walls, and the house settled into an eerie silence. One evening, while unpacking in the living room, Emma found an old journal hidden in the back of a dusty drawer. The leather-bound book was worn but intact, its pages filled with elegant cursive writing. Curiosity piqued. She began to read. The entries detailed the daily life of Clara Hawthorne, the youngest daughter, who expressed her longing for adventure and a world beyond the confines of the house. As Emma read, she felt an inexplicable connection to the girl, understanding the desire to escape the confines of one's circumstances. Jake, initially skeptical of Emma's fascination, soon found himself intrigued as well. They spent hours poring over the journal, piecing together Clara's life and the tragedies that had befallen her family. As they delved deeper into the history, the couple began to feel the weight of the past pressing down on them, as if the house itself was urging them to understand its story. Despite their growing fascination, the strange occurrences continued to escalate. Emma began to have vivid dreams of Clara, visions of the girl wandering the halls, her pale figure drifting through the darkness. In the dreams, Clara's eyes were filled with sadness, as if she were searching for something lost. Emma often woke in a cold sweat, the dreams leaving her unsettled and longing for answers. She confided in Jake, who listened patiently but remained skeptical. "It's just the stress of moving and all the changes," he assured her. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. One stormy night, as rain battered the windows and thunder rumbled in the distance, Emma decided to explore the attic. With a flashlight in hand, she climbed the narrow staircase, her heart racing with anticipation. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten memories, old trunks, tattered furniture, and more photographs that captured moments of joy and sorrow. In the far corner, she discovered a dusty trunk, its latch rusted with age. With effort, she opened the trunk to reveal a collection of Clara's belongings: dresses made of fine fabric, toys from her childhood, and letters that hinted at the family struggles. As Emma sifted through the items, she felt an overwhelming sense of loss, as if Clara's spirit lingered in the air around her. It was then that she noticed a small, intricately carved music box nestled among the treasures. She opened it, and a soft, haunting melody filled the attic, sending shivers down her spine. At that moment, Emma felt a presence wash over her, a feeling of warmth mixed with sadness. She couldn't shake the sense that Clara was there with her, guiding her to understand the history that had unfolded within these walls. Emma's heart raced as she clutched the music box, feeling a connection that transcended time. When she returned downstairs, she found Jake sitting on the couch, a furrowed brow etched across his face. "You were up there for a while," he remarked, concern evident in his tone. Emma showed him the music box, her excitement bubbling over as she shared her discovery. Jake took the box in his hands, examining it with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. "It's beautiful," he admitted, but a hint of unease lingered in his eyes. That night, as they prepared for bed, the storm outside intensified. Lightning flashed, illuminating the room in brief, blinding bursts. Emma lay in bed, unable to shake the feeling of Clara's presence. She closed her eyes, hoping for peaceful sleep, but the haunting melody from the music box echoed in her mind. In the early hours of the morning, Emma was jolted awake by a loud crash. She bolted upright, heart racing, and glanced around the dimly lit room. Jake was already out of bed, looking pale and shaken. "Did you hear that?" he whispered, eyes wide with fear. Before she could respond, they both heard it, a soft, mournful cry that seemed to drift through the halls. It was as if Clara's spirit had awakened, crying out for help or recognition. Emma's heart ached at the sound, feeling an overwhelming urge to understand the source of the sorrow that echoed through the house. With trepidation, they left the safety of their bedroom and followed the sound. The house felt alive with energy, the walls seemingly pulsing with history. As they descended the staircase, the cries grew louder, leading them to the living room. There, amidst the shadows, they saw a figure, a faint outline of a young girl standing in the corner. Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Clara," she whispered, her voice trembling. The figure turned, its expression one of longing and sorrow. In that moment, Emma understood. Clara was not a malevolent spirit, but a lost soul yearning for connection. The figure flickered, and the cries softened, replaced by a gentle breeze that whispered through the room. Emma and Jake exchanged glances, both overwhelmed by the weight of the encounter. They had stepped into a world that was both terrifying and beautiful, a realm where the past intertwined with the present, and the longing for understanding bridged the gap between the living and the dead. From that night onward, Emma and Jake embraced the history of the Hawthorne house. They dedicated themselves to uncovering the truth of Clara's story, determined to honor the girl who had captured their hearts. They sought out local historians and visited the town library, piecing together the fragmented narrative of the Hawthorne family. As they delved deeper into the past, they found themselves growing closer, united by their shared experience and the weight of the house's legacy. The more they learned about Clara's life, the more they felt her presence guiding them, urging them to uncover the truth hidden within the walls of the Hawthorne house. In that old, creaking structure, Emma and Jake discovered not just a home, but a connection to the past that would forever change their lives, drawing them into a world of mystery, love, and the eternal quest for understanding. And so, they became the new guardians of the Hawthorne house, intertwined with its legend and forever altered by the spirits that lingered within. Escalation of haunting 1,500 words. As the Thompsons settled into their new life in the Hawthorne house, the peculiarities that had initially seemed like charming quirks began to escalate into something far more disturbing. What began as flickering lights and odd creaks in the night morphed into a series of unnerving events that left Emma and Jake on edge. The old house, once a source of excitement and curiosity, transformed into a realm of tension and fear. The first sign of the haunting's escalation occurred shortly after they uncovered the music box. Emma had placed it on the mantel in the living room, believing it to be a beautiful piece of history that deserved a place of honor. However, within days, the music box began to play on its own, a haunting melody echoing through the empty halls. It always seemed to activate in the dead of night, the eerie tune slicing through the silence like a ghostly call. One particularly unsettling night, as the wind howled outside, Emma was jolted awake by the sound of the music box playing. Groggy and disoriented, she glanced at the clock, 2:47 a.m. She lay still for a moment, straining to hear over the melody that filled the room, the soft notes hauntingly beautiful yet disconcerting. Jake stirred beside her, a frown creasing his forehead. "Emma," he whispered, his voice barely above a murmur, "is the music box playing again?" She nodded, fear creeping into her heart. "It's coming from the living room. I'll check it out," he offered, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. Emma grabbed his arm, her voice trembling. "Wait! What if it's, I don't know, something else?" The thought of a supernatural presence stirred a mix of fear and curiosity within her. Jake took a deep breath, his resolve softening. "Let's go together." They crept down the hallway, the melody guiding them like a spectral beacon. The haunting tune echoed off the walls, weaving through the darkness like an ethereal thread. As they entered the living room, they found the music box spinning on the mantel, its lid open, the notes dancing in the air. The moment they stepped inside, the music abruptly stopped, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. "Did you see that?" Emma whispered, her voice barely audible. Jake shook his head, a mix of skepticism and concern etched on his face. "Maybe it's just old machinery acting up." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "Old machinery doesn't play music by itself, Jake." That night marked a turning point. As days passed, the house seemed to react to their presence, feeding off their emotions and fears. The haunting escalated further. Doors that had been firmly shut would swing open suddenly. Cold drafts swept through rooms, and objects moved seemingly on their own. They often found items misplaced, like the keys to the car or a favorite mug, only to discover them in strange locations: the garden, the attic, or even the bathroom sink. One evening, while unpacking in the kitchen, Emma noticed a sudden drop in temperature. The air around her turned frigid, and she shivered involuntarily. She brushed it off as an old house's quirks, but as she reached for a glass, a loud crash echoed from the other room. She turned to see the chair she had been using toppled over, as if pushed by an unseen force. "Jake," she called, her heart racing. He rushed in, his brow furrowed in concern. "What happened?" "The chair just fell over," Emma said, her voice shaky. "It was like someone pushed it." Jake inspected the chair, his expression skeptical. "Maybe it was just unbalanced." "Don't you feel it?" Emma insisted. "It's different in here, almost like there's a presence." He sighed, rubbing his temples in frustration. "Look, I know this house has its issues, but let's not jump to conclusions. We can't let these stories get to us." But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, lurking in the shadows. As the days wore on, the disturbances became more personal. Emma began to experience vivid nightmares that felt strikingly real. In these dreams, she found herself wandering the darkened halls of the Hawthorne house, the music box playing a soft, melancholic tune. Clara would appear, her ghostly figure beckoning Emma to follow her deeper into the shadows. Each time Emma reached for Clara, she would vanish, leaving Emma with a sense of longing and despair. The dreams left her waking in a cold sweat, heart racing, feeling the weight of loss hanging heavily in the air. She confided in Jake, who listened but remained skeptical, attributing her nightmares to stress. "I'm fine," she insisted, her voice trembling. "But I feel like Clara is trying to tell me something." Jake frowned, concerned for her mental well-being. "Maybe we should talk to someone about this, a therapist or a counselor. It's a lot to take in." Emma resented the suggestion. "I'm not crazy, Jake. I just want to understand what's happening." One particularly unsettling night, Emma was jolted awake again, this time by the sensation of cold fingers brushing against her arm. Startled, she gasped and turned to see Jake sleeping soundly beside her. Confused and terrified, she glanced around the dimly lit room, her heart racing. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, and for a moment, she felt as if they were watching her. She closed her eyes tightly, willing herself to return to sleep, but sleep eluded her. The sensation of being watched intensified, and she felt an overwhelming urge to confront the source of her fear. The following day, driven by a mix of determination and fear, Emma ventured to the local library to research the Hawthorne family. She scoured old newspapers and archives, piecing together the fragments of their lives. What she discovered sent chills down her spine. The articles detailed not only Clara's disappearance, but also accounts of the family's descent into madness after her vanishing. One article mentioned whispers of a curse surrounding the Hawthorne family, suggesting that their tragedies were a result of dark forces that had been awakened within the house. Emma's heart raced as she read about the strange occurrences that had plagued the family, accidents, illness, and a sense of despair that had consumed them all. Returning home, Emma shared her findings with Jake. "The house isn't just old, it's tied to something dark," she insisted, her voice shaking with urgency. "We need to acknowledge what happened here." Jake's brow furrowed with worry. "I don't know, Em. This sounds like superstition. I don't want you to get lost in these stories." But Emma could feel the weight of the house pressing down on her. That night, as they prepared for bed, the atmosphere in the house shifted. A heavy silence enveloped them, and the temperature dropped dramatically. Emma turned to Jake, her voice trembling. "Do you feel that?" Before he could respond, the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness. A low, mournful wail echoed through the halls, sending a wave of terror through Emma. She clutched Jake's arm, her heart racing as fear surged within her. "Emma, it's probably just a storm," Jake said, but his voice wavered, betraying his own uncertainty. They huddled together in the dark, their breaths shallow. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed from the attic, heavy and deliberate. Emma's pulse quickened. "We need to check it out," she insisted, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake hesitated but ultimately nodded. With shaky hands, they lit a flashlight and crept toward the attic door. The old wooden staircase creaked beneath their weight, the air thick with apprehension. As they reached the top, the attic door swung open slowly, revealing the darkened space filled with forgotten memories. Inside, the atmosphere felt charged, as if the air itself crackled with energy. They scanned the room with the flashlight, and as the beam flickered across the space, it landed on the music box, now ominously positioned in the center of the room, its lid wide open. "Why is it here?" Jake murmured, his voice filled with disbelief. Emma stepped forward, drawn to the music box. As she reached for it, the temperature dropped even further, and the lights in the attic flickered violently. Panic surged through her, but she felt an inexplicable pull toward the box. When her fingers grazed the cold metal, the haunting melody began to play again, filling the attic with an eerie tune that echoed the darkness. Suddenly, Clara's ghostly figure appeared before them, her expression filled with sorrow. Emma's heart raced as she felt the presence enveloping her, the sadness radiating from Clara palpable. "Help me," the ghostly figure whispered, her voice a haunting echo that resonated through the room. Emma gasped, feeling a wave of empathy wash over her. "What do you need?" she asked, her voice trembling. But before Clara could respond, the room shifted dramatically. The shadows lengthened, swirling around them like a tempest. A malevolent force seemed to awaken, filling the air with dread. Jake gripped Emma's arm tightly, fear etched on his face. "We need to leave. Now." In a panic, they turned to flee, but the shadows coiled around their feet, as if trying to hold them back. Emma fought against the darkness, her heart pounding as she glimpsed Clara's figure vanishing into the shadows. "No, wait," she cried, desperate to understand. But the darkness was relentless. They stumbled down the stairs, the air thick with an oppressive weight. Once they reached the bottom, the front door slammed shut, trapping them inside. Emma's heart raced as she pounded against the door, panic surging through her. "Jake, what do we do?" she shouted, her voice tinged with desperation. Jake rushed to the windows, pulling at the curtains. "We have to get out," he shouted, but the shadows closed in, swirling like a storm around them. Just as they thought all hope was lost, the music box began to play once more, cutting through the chaos like a beacon. Emma felt a surge of clarity. The music box, it's connected to Clara. She grabbed it, holding it tightly in her hands. The melody seemed to resonate with Clara's spirit, and the shadows hesitated, wavering as if caught in a struggle. "Clara, we want to help you," Emma cried, her voice steadying as she focused on the spirit. "Tell us what we need to do." In that moment, the figure reappeared, and the shadows retreated slightly, allowing Clara to step closer. Tears streamed down her ghostly face, and Emma's heart ached at the sight. "Find my necklace," Clara whispered, her voice barely audible above the haunting melody. "It's the key to setting me free." With that, Clara's figure began to fade, but Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. "We will find it," she promised, determination surging within her. As the shadows receded, the front door swung open, revealing the night outside. Jake grabbed Emma's hand, and together they stepped out into the cool air, breathing in the scent of rain-soaked earth. "Did you hear that?" Jake panted, looking into Emma's eyes. "We have to find that necklace." Emma nodded, her mind racing. "We'll search every inch of this house if we have to. Clara needs us." The escalation of the haunting had revealed the truth. The house was not just a relic of the past, but a living entity bound to the souls that had once inhabited it. As they stood on the threshold, the weight of Clara's sorrow hung heavy in the air, urging them to uncover the secrets that lay within the walls of the Hawthorne house. Emma and Jake were no longer just residents. They were now players in a haunting tale that demanded resolution, and they would stop at nothing to bring peace to the restless spirit that had captured their hearts. Research and revelations. Determined to uncover the truth behind Clara Hawthorne's necklace and the mysteries of the Hawthorne house, Emma and Jake delved into research, driven by the urgency of Clara's plea. They scoured the town library, seeking out local historians and poring over old archives in their quest for answers. Each piece of information they uncovered seemed to bring them one step closer to understanding the haunting that had enveloped their lives. Their first stop was the Mill Creek Historical Society, a quaint building filled with shelves of dusty books and boxes of forgotten treasures. As they entered, the smell of aged paper and leather filled the air. They approached an elderly woman behind the desk, her glasses perched on the tip of her nose. "Can we help you?" she asked, peering at them with keen eyes. "We're looking for information on the Hawthorne family," Emma replied, her heart racing, "especially about a girl named Clara and any necklace that might be significant to her story." The woman's expression shifted, a hint of recognition sparking in her gaze. "The Hawthorne family, that's quite a tale. They were one of the oldest families in Mill Creek, and Clara's story is shrouded in tragedy. Do you know anything about a necklace?" Jake interjected, leaning forward. "Clara mentioned it in a vision we had." The woman frowned, deep in thought. "There are old accounts of a family heirloom, a locket that Clara wore. It was said to contain a portrait of her mother and a lock of her hair. It was lost after Clara vanished, and some believe it holds the key to understanding her fate." Emma felt a thrill of excitement. Where can we find more information about it? Check the archives in the back. You might find letters, old photographs, or anything related to the family's possessions, the woman suggested, gesturing toward a door marked archives. They thanked her and hurried to the back room, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Dust motes floated in the air as they rummaged through boxes of papers and photographs, each piece of history revealing fragments of Clara's life. Hours passed as they sifted through letters, journals, and newspaper clippings, piecing together the tragic tale of the Hawthorne family. One letter, yellowed with age and faded ink, caught Emma's eye. It was addressed to Clara from her mother, expressing love and concern for her daughter's well-being. "My dearest Clara," it read, "I worry about you, my sweet girl. The world can be a dark place, but always remember the light you carry within you." Emma felt a lump form in her throat as she imagined Clara receiving those words, a bittersweet reminder of the love she had lost. Further along, they discovered a photograph of Clara wearing a delicate locket around her neck. The locket gleamed in the sunlight, capturing the innocence of her youth. The image was hauntingly beautiful, and Emma felt a pang of longing for the girl who had once filled those halls with laughter. As they continued to search, they stumbled upon an old newspaper article that detailed the mysterious circumstances surrounding Clara's disappearance. "Local girl vanishes without a trace," it read, the headline bold and alarming. The article recounted how Clara had gone missing after venturing into the woods near the house, a place that had long been rumored to be haunted. The article hinted at dark omens surrounding her family, suggesting that the house had a history of tragedy. "Look at this," Jake said, holding up another article. It mentioned strange occurrences in the house before her disappearance, unexplained noises, flickering lights, and even sightings of a ghostly figure. "It sounds just like what we've been experiencing." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. It's as if the house itself was alive, reacting to the family's turmoil. Clara must have felt it too, as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the dusty windows. They found a small box tucked away in a corner of the archive room. Inside lay a collection of Clara's belongings, a delicate lace handkerchief, a faded drawing of the Hawthorne house, and an ornate key that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. "This key could be important," Jake said, holding it up to the light. "Maybe it opens a secret compartment or a hidden space in the house." Emma nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We have to find out. It might lead us to the necklace." That night, armed with the key and the knowledge they had gathered, they returned to the Hawthorne house. The atmosphere felt charged with energy as they stepped inside, the air thick with anticipation. Emma led the way to the attic, her heart pounding as they climbed the creaking staircase. As they reached the attic, the dim light from their flashlight flickered across the room, casting eerie shadows. Emma felt a sense of purpose wash over her. "This key has to open something," she said, scanning the room for a lock that matched its shape. Jake moved to a wooden chest in the corner, its surface worn and covered in dust. "What about this?" he suggested, kneeling down to inspect it. Emma joined him, excitement bubbling within her. "It looks promising." She inserted the key into the lock, feeling a surge of hope. With a gentle turn, the lock clicked open, and they lifted the lid together. Inside, they found a collection of old letters and trinkets, but at the very bottom lay a small, ornate locket, Clara's necklace. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she lifted it out, her hands trembling. The locket was beautifully crafted, adorned with intricate designs that sparkled in the dim light. "Clara," she exclaimed, tears of joy welling in her eyes. "We found it." Jake leaned closer, examining the locket. "It looks like it could hold a picture or something inside." Carefully, Emma opened the locket to reveal a faded portrait of Clara's mother, her gentle smile radiating warmth and love. A lock of hair was tucked neatly beside the photograph, its golden strand still vibrant after all these years. "This is it," Emma whispered, her voice filled with awe. "This is what Clara wanted us to find. It holds her mother's love, and it's a piece of her that she lost." The moment was bittersweet, the joy of discovery overshadowed by the tragic history surrounding Clara's life. Emma felt an overwhelming sense of connection to the girl whose spirit had reached out to them. "We need to return this to Clara," she said, determination swelling within her. "We have to set her free." Jake nodded, his expression serious. "But how? What do we do with it?" Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. "We have to find a way to honor her memory, to acknowledge the love that was lost. Maybe if we do that, it will bring peace to her spirit." They decided to hold a small ceremony in the backyard, a sacred space where Clara could finally be at peace. Under the moonlight, they set up a small altar, placing the locket at the center surrounded by wildflowers and candles. The air felt charged as they lit the candles, the flickering flames casting soft shadows around them. "Clara," Emma whispered, her voice steady yet filled with emotion, "we found your locket, and we honor your memory. You are not forgotten. Your story is still alive, and we promise to share it." As they stood in silence, the wind picked up, swirling around them like a gentle embrace. Emma felt a warmth in the air, as if Clara's spirit was present, listening to their words. "Thank you for trusting us," Jake added, his voice filled with sincerity. "We will remember you and your family. You deserve peace." In that moment, a soft breeze enveloped them, and the candles flickered as if responding to their words. Emma's heart swelled with hope, believing that Clara had finally found the connection she had been seeking. As they returned to the house, the oppressive atmosphere that had once filled the air began to dissipate. The shadows no longer felt threatening. Instead, they felt like remnants of the past, reminders of the love and tragedy that had unfolded within the walls of the Hawthorne house. Emma and Jake had uncovered the truth, revealing the pain and love that intertwined Clara's life. They had given voice to her story, and in doing so, they had set themselves on a path toward healing, not only for Clara's spirit but for themselves as well. Their journey was far from over, but with each revelation, they felt stronger and more connected to the legacy of the Hawthorne family. Together, they would continue to explore the depths of the house's history, seeking answers and embracing the spirits that lingered, determined to honor the past while carving out their future in the old, haunted home. Aftermath. The air in the Hawthorne house had shifted dramatically after Emma and Jake's heartfelt ceremony. The oppressive weight that had hung in the atmosphere seemed to lift, replaced by a sense of tranquility that had eluded them since their arrival. As they stepped back into the house, the once foreboding halls now felt welcoming, infused with a gentle warmth that spoke of healing and closure. In the days that followed, Emma and Jake dedicated themselves to honoring Clara's memory. They researched more about the Hawthorne family, sharing Clara's story with the community. Emma wrote articles for the local paper, recounting the history of the family and the significance of the necklace. The townspeople were captivated by the tale, and interest in the old house grew, bringing a new sense of purpose to Emma and Jake's lives. They also sought to restore the house, seeing it not just as a residence, but as a historical landmark that deserved care and attention. With the help of local volunteers, they began cleaning the gardens, repainting the faded walls, and fixing the creaking floorboards. As they worked, stories of the house circulated, sparking curiosity and reverence among the townspeople. Children would stop by after school, eager to hear the legend of Clara Hawthorne and the ghost that once haunted the halls. Despite the newfound sense of community, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was still with them, guiding their efforts from beyond. At night, she would often find herself in the attic, tracing her fingers over the music box, which had become a cherished symbol of their journey. The soft melody would sometimes play on its own, filling the space with an air of nostalgia and comfort. One evening, as Emma sat in the attic, she noticed something peculiar. The music box had stopped playing, but the air around her felt charged with energy. Suddenly, she heard a soft whisper, a gentle voice that seemed to emerge from the shadows. "Thank you," it said, barely audible, yet undeniably present. Emma's heart raced as she turned to see a faint shimmer in the corner of the room. It was Clara, her spirit appearing more vivid and at peace than ever before. "Clara," Emma whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Is it really you?" The figure nodded, a soft smile gracing her lips. "You have freed me, Emma. Thank you for sharing my story and for honoring my memory. I can finally rest." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "I wish we could have done more for you, Clara. I wish you could have had a happy ending." Clara shook her head gently. "You have given me the closure I needed. My story will not be forgotten, and my spirit will always be a part of this house. You've made it a home once more." As Clara's figure began to fade, Emma felt a wave of warmth wash over her. "Thank you, Clara. I promise to keep your memory alive," she vowed, her heart swelling with emotion. Days turned into weeks, and the transformation of the Hawthorne house was evident. The gardens bloomed with vibrant flowers, and the once silent rooms now echoed with laughter and stories. Emma and Jake hosted community gatherings, inviting people to share their experiences and connect over the house's history. During one of these events, a woman named Mrs. Harrison approached Emma. "I grew up in this town, and I remember Clara well," she said, her eyes shimmering with nostalgia. "I often wondered what had happened to her. I never thought I'd hear her story again." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of purpose swell within her. "Clara's spirit lives on in this house. We're committed to sharing her story and preserving her legacy." Mrs. Harrison nodded appreciatively. "You're doing a wonderful thing. Clara deserves to be remembered." As the community continued to come together, Emma and Jake felt a renewed sense of belonging. They had transformed the haunting experience into a celebration of life and love, creating a safe space for others to connect with the past and share their own stories of loss and redemption. Yet, amid the joy, Emma couldn't help but reflect on the lingering shadows of the house's history. While Clara's spirit had found peace, there were echoes of sorrow still woven into the fabric of the home. Emma felt an urge to dig deeper, to understand the darker chapters of the Hawthorne family's legacy, and to ensure that no other spirits remained trapped within the walls. Late one night, after the community event had ended, Emma and Jake returned to the attic, ready to continue their research. They spread out the materials they had collected, including family trees, photographs, and letters, piecing together the Hawthorne saga. Emma's heart ached as she read about the struggles Clara's parents faced, loss, despair, and the haunting darkness that seemed to cling to the family. "This is more than just Clara's story," Emma said, her voice heavy with emotion. "It's about the entire family and the pain they endured. We need to bring their story to light." Jake nodded in agreement, his expression serious. "We can't let the tragedy define them. We should also celebrate their triumphs, the love they shared, the happiness they experienced. They deserve to be remembered for more than just their sorrows." With renewed determination, they delved into the history, uncovering joyful moments, the family's gatherings, celebrations, and the love that bound them together. Emma began writing a book that would not only share the dark aspects of the Hawthorne legacy, but also highlight the beauty and strength that had flourished amid the heartache. As they worked tirelessly, Emma often felt Clara's presence beside her, guiding her through the process. Late at night, When the world was still, the music box would play softly, a reminder that they were not alone in their efforts. One evening, as Emma typed away at her computer, she heard a gentle tapping at the window. Curious, she glanced outside to see a young girl peering in. The girl looked familiar. She bore a striking resemblance to Clara as a child. "Can I come in?" the girl asked, her voice bright and cheerful. Emma opened the window, surprised yet delighted. "Of course. What's your name?" "I'm Lily," the girl said, stepping inside with an infectious smile. "I heard about the house and wanted to see it. I've always been fascinated by Clara's story." Emma's heart warmed at the girl's enthusiasm. "You know, Clara used to play in this very attic. She loved it here." Lily's eyes sparkled with wonder. "Really? That's amazing. I want to help you keep her story alive." As they chatted, Emma realized that the legacy of the Hawthorne family would not only be preserved through her efforts, but would also inspire a new generation. Children like Lily could carry the torch, sharing the tales of bravery and love that had emerged from the darkness. As the seasons changed, so did the spirit of the Hawthorne house. The warmth of community and love enveloped it, transforming it into a beacon of hope. Emma and Jake had not only reclaimed the home for themselves, but had turned it into a place where stories were shared, memories were cherished, and spirits were honored. On the anniversary of Clara's disappearance, they organized a memorial event, inviting the community to come together in remembrance. The garden was adorned with flowers, candles, and photographs of Clara and her family, celebrating their lives. Emma spoke of Clara's journey, her struggles, and the love that had transcended time. "Tonight, we honor Clara and the Hawthorne family," she proclaimed, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Their legacy is not defined by loss, but by the love they shared and the impact they had on our lives. We will keep their memory alive." As the candles flickered in the gentle breeze, Emma felt a profound sense of connection to the past. The whispers of the house echoed around her, resonating with the stories of all those who had come before. She looked up at the stars twinkling in the night sky, believing that Clara was watching over them, finally at peace. In that moment, Emma realized that while the past was woven with pain, it was also filled with resilience and hope. The Hawthorne house, once a place of despair, had transformed into a sanctuary of love, connection, and remembrance. Clara's story would continue to live on, inspiring others to embrace their own journeys and honor the spirits that shaped their lives. The aftermath of their experience had not just been about understanding the haunting, but about celebrating life, the light that shines even in the darkest of times. Emma and Jake had forged a bond with the past, a promise to carry Clara's memory forward, ensuring that the echoes of the Hawthorne house would never fade away. Conclusion. As the last flickers of candlelight danced in the twilight, Emma stood in the Hawthorne garden, reflecting on the journey she and Jake had taken since they first stepped foot in the house. What had begun as a mere curiosity, fueled by the legends of a haunted past, had blossomed into a profound exploration of love, loss, and resilience. The echoes of Clara's spirit were no longer tinged with sorrow. Instead, they resonated with the joy of remembrance and connection. The memorial event had drawn people from all walks of life, uniting them in their shared stories and experiences. They had gathered not only to honor Clara, but to celebrate the strength of the human spirit that persisted through adversity. Emma realized that Clara's tale was not an isolated one. It was a reminder of the struggles faced by many who had come before, and the healing that could be found in community and remembrance. Through their research and efforts, Emma and Jake had transformed the Hawthorne house into a living testament to the power of storytelling. It had become a space where voices from the past mingled with those of the present, creating a tapestry of shared histories. Clara's legacy was woven into the very fabric of the house, and Emma knew that as long as they continued to tell her story, her spirit would remain alive. As they worked to restore the home, Emma and Jake had unearthed not only Clara's history, but also the stories of her family. Tales of love, laughter, and the indomitable human spirit that triumphed even in the face of tragedy. The Hawthorne house was no longer just a relic of a bygone era. It was a vibrant hub of activity, where new memories were being made alongside those of the past. The music box, once a source of haunting melodies, had transformed into a symbol of hope and healing. It now played gentle tunes during gatherings, serving as a reminder of the love that Clara had shared with her family and the connections forged through their shared experiences. Emma cherished the moments when the music would fill the rooms, resonating with laughter and stories that echoed through the halls. In the weeks that followed, Emma poured her heart into writing the book that would encapsulate Clara's story and the legacy of the Hawthorne family. She wrote not only of the darkness they had endured, but also of the light that emerged from it, a narrative of resilience that would inspire others facing their own struggles. The book became a bridge between generations, inviting readers to reflect on their own histories and the power of love in overcoming adversity. As the seasons changed, so too did the spirit of the Hawthorne house. It had transformed into a sanctuary, a space where the past and present coexisted harmoniously. The community flourished around it, and Emma felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that they had played a part in bringing the stories of the Hawthorne family to life. In the end, Emma and Jake's journey was about more than just uncovering a haunting. It was about understanding the intricacies of love, loss, and the connections that bind us all. Clara's spirit would forever be a part of the Hawthorne house, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and love could prevail, illuminating the path for those who came after. Emma stood in the garden, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves, and knew that Clara would always be with her, guiding her in the continued journey of storytelling and remembrance. Subscribe to Hollow Whisper Tales and unlock the secrets of the night.